So when I'm talking about cycles, I'm talking about everyone. Everything is a cycle. Everything is a pattern, right? So let's look at science, right? How do we prove something or disprove something? We can't just do it once. We have to do it several times. Like, do I like to meditate? Well, if you have a horrible experience the first time, the teacher's going to do everything they can to get you to keep doing it, right? Because we want to see what is your experience with it. And when we see something happening, you know, a few times in a row, we're like, I'm going to clock that. That's a pattern. You know, it's like a first time on me, my bad. Second time, that's on you. Third time, okay, this is a pattern and I need to change my behavior. So that's a pattern. And cycles, we are all in cycles as well. We're all in what I call karmic cycles. So karma being an action, and then there's an opposite and equal reaction, right? And so whether you want to take it from Vedic texts or whether you want to look at Newton's third law, it's all in there. It's all in the science, right? So I can be in a karmic cycle of, you know, if you look at Vedic worldview, last time I might have had a little too much privilege and used it a little bit wrong. So this time I'm here and I'm wanting to help people, and I'm actually in a karmic cycle of amending this, right, on a deeper level, right? So we all have these cycles in life. You know, we have a cycle when we're an infant, then a child, then a teenager, and then an adult. You know, in all philosophies, they have cycles. So it's not only related to astrology, it's everything with ourselves. And the reason why I liked to use with this the planetary markers is because when we meditate more, we just become more in tune with nature. And, you know, we are all part of this consciousness, this universe. So why would we not reflect some energetic reaction we're happening to a planetary movement, right? So if you have one planet which is all fiery, that's Mars, for example, and it's exalted, and it may be in a particular house which has got to do with work, then you're all fired up about work. God, that person is such a workaholic. Why are they such a workaholic? Like non-stop. They don't need to. It can be just part of who they are. And that's where it can actually be very healing to know that when that Mars then kicks into something that relates to you, oh, holy smokes, watch out. You might have to, you know, shut your mouth. Know that you're likely to cause a few things. Oh, God, because everything can be like so much more trouble. It's been able to keep yourself in a way that you can use it to your, lack of a better word, an easier life, you know, right? Less stress is what we want with what's going on. But you are all here at a particular time, which really kind of reflects what was happening in the 60s, right? Where there was this movement against the establishment with masses of people. And that when you're meditators, we have the ability to do this with a clear mind, right? Like if you look at a lot of the hippie movements, the problem was they were so flipping high all the time. They were still reenacting out, you know, cycles of misogyny or ownership or what was going on without even realizing. It's just, hey man, it's cool. And it's like, no, you just shifted your state of mind temporarily. You haven't had a change in consciousness to be actually present, right? And how we get to be present is we actually move through some of that stuff. And when I'm talking about like in your body, oh, I'm feeling off, I'm feeling wonky. Why did I say that? And that is because there's something in us that is being triggered. And it's being triggered because we're reflecting what's happening in the world inside of us, right? And so when we meditate or we have a base where we go in and we kick ourselves into neutral, or there's intellectual understanding, right? Whether it's a Vedic text knowledge, whether it's another tech knowledge, whether it's like science, whether it's astronomy or astrology. Oh, there's a sense of, oh. And we don't take life so seriously. And then we can be actually what we call an advocate for the world and be a part of a change maker for the world because we're present, right? Those of you who are in California probably know, like most people aren't even, you know, of a clear mind on a regular basis. And these CBD gummies and whatnot, they're so powerful. They're not what they took in the 60s, you know, it's like so strong, right? And that's a whole other thing that, you know, people do whatever you need to do, but how do we get to be more present? We want to be more present in the world. I truly feel we have to go through these somatic experiences of healing. You can't just heal in your brain, right? We have it. We are an embodiment of what we chose to be in this world, basically to make the world a better place by up-leveling our consciousness. So we are in a cycle right now of moving forward, right? Upheaval, moving forward. And this is where you might find the people who you don't jive with anymore, right, really in your soul, they're just not going to be around, because you're going to move more into who you are, because that's the only way we're going to get through what's happening in the next few years. That's the only way. I mean, bar from dealing with family, which is basically karmic ties anyway, which is why they are your family, which is sorting that stuff out. You know, it's just a lie that you're supposed to love the people that you're blood related to. You know, like that's like, they're there for a reason. You love them in a different way than maybe you love other people, right? But they're there for you to up level and for them to up level. And when there's these karmic cycles that we have with people, sometimes we expect them to meet their part. And they're not there to do that. No, that's just too much. And they might have to come around and do that again. But we can't be dependent upon them. And there's going to be January 27th, I'm going to do another one of these, but it's going to be talking about the cycles of love karma, and love meaning friends, you know, not just a romantic thing, because it's getting before you know, Valentine's, and then doing some exercises that I have been doing that have actually helped change like these emotional, you know, there's always one person that just, they just get you, you're like, right, and you're like, why is this person bothering me? Like, they just looked at me weird at the street, and I'm like holding this. And there's like a certain amount of writing you can do, you can meditate, but it's still, there's something deeper, right? There is something deeper that they are bringing up in you. And that's where is some kind of deeper karmic tie in it that I can actually choose not to break that tie, because if you break it, it's still left there saying, hello, anyone else? Do you want to like latch onto this? No, you want to release it. You want to release the knot, right? You want to release that into the consciousness, right? And that's where we have, you know, these cycles. We're all part of a cycle. Life is a cycle. I mean, you know, when we just plant a tree, we put the seed in, up it goes, then it dies. Like, that's what I mean by a cycle, with us continuing to move with it. So when we're going to wake up, we're all going to wake up even more. And this is why we're here. We've all here chosen to do this, even if you don't blim and believe it. We're all here to do this. And those that do and start upgrading, you're going to have more joy and bliss, but you're also going to feel the sadness of the global consciousness. Like, because it's really sad, right? Like, I get sad when there are certain people, I'm like, oh, that really sucks that person feels that way. That's really sad, you know? But on the other side of it, no, energetic new year is around 11/11. That's November 11th. Solstice happens around the 21st December. Then January 1st happens for people. Then you've got the lunar new year that happens in February. And then you have the astrological new year, right? So you're talking November time all the way around to March. Everyone decides when they want to have their new year, right? You know, everyone's just got a completely different answer. And that can overwhelm you, like to the point of like, I'm just going to off myself. It's too much. But the thing is what resonates with you. Take that wave. If you feel that there's a wave of like, I want to try something new, then just go with that wave. Because if you're sensitive to it, you can ride that for something that will actually get you to do something. Like, I don't know, I don't want to do the dishes. I don't want to do the dishes, but I wake up and I feel there's some energy. I don't know what it is. I do the energy, I do the dishes, and I find out, oh no, it's like Chinese New Year. Oh yeah, that's fun. And now it's sort of borderline almost sounding like, I don't know, mentally delusional, right? Right? It sounds like I'm mad, but it's not, right? Because we're not taught that that is the truth, to listen to our inner tuition from our souls and our cellular being, and to go with that, right? And it doesn't matter, you know, we get older, we have to talk ourselves out of it. Those of you who've been doing our new moon workshops like every month, but we do one, we notice there's a different wave of energy where you were born, where the moon was. When that comes around every month, there's a wave of energy. And that only came about because I noticed something was always happening when there was a new moon. I was like, why do I have more energy? Why do more people email me back? Came out of my experience of something. And he had that because there was, I think, what was Jeff? He was a banker, I think. He was a banker. No. He was an engineer, and he did these projects, and he noticed every time he did a project, the beginning of like the new moon, it went well. And when he just did it hickory-pickory, it didn't. So he's aligning with nature. We're like aligning with nature. And aligning with nature means aligning with our true inner selves, right? And we have so much chatter, we can't always hear it, right? And so aligning with the inner selves, we have these tools to help us. And the meditation that you chaps all do, is a great jumping off point, because we feel it. We feel it. Now we're moving into a place where it's time to get into action somehow, whatever that is. And that's why we have that movement of, we have that comedy class happening. We have caregivers that are enrolled, you know, people who are dealing with stress and how they can articulate it and have a somatic healing experience through learning to stand up and speak your truth, right? Because a lot of what happens when people are younger is because they couldn't speak their truth. They weren't safe to speak your truth, right? You come into a society that is very oppressed, and then you're not able, you've got to survive. It's all about survival. And so when this is in the DNA of it, it's very hard to change unless you do some action with it, which is what you do with meditation. We are going to have reactions from people. And the brain then says, hang on, why am I having that reaction? What the brain is doing is now judging yourself. And so you've got to keep in line, because if you're not in line, you're going to end up homeless, and then you're going to be betrayed, and you're going to basically die. That's why it's there, right? The truth of it is, oh, I'm having a reaction to this person. I'm having a sensation to this person. What's that about then? I keep having this reaction to this person. And then when you meditate, then when you take somatic experiential actions versus trying to think about it in your head, right? You will hear the answer. You will hear, oh, because you can get to a point that, oh, that person bothers me because they are, you know, like my mum or whatever. And that's where, when we get to next month, we talk about love and our karma, these karmic bonds that we have with people. That person's just another one. That's another branch off of something from before. And the reality is, you can't let it go. You can't let something go when it's like on you, right? Like they've got on you. You can't say, excuse me, I can't let you go. You can't let them, because they're on you. How do you release that, right? So the meditation helps, because you start to deal with the stress and you get that removed. Then there's other actions that you can take, which would go to your part of it, like your path, your karmic cycle of what you're doing. And then as a result, it will lessen. And some of it, all these reactions, it comes from within the body, right? This is the reality. It's not the mind. The mind thinks it's happening through the mind, but it's the body is having this reaction, and the mind is, oh, calm down. Blah, 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 blah. It's because of this, because that's the mind's job, is to try to tell you how to fix something with an emotional response. And the reality is, we have to address the emotional reaction with emotional principled actions. There are several ways to do it. One, keep the steadfast meditation practice. Two, come to group meditations where there's knowledge meetings. That will help that happen. If you've been doing your practice for a year, you can get an upgrade, which is basically sharpening the knife. That will help get more of the stress out, right? And then attending knowledge meetings and wisdom meetings, where you will resonate with something that I say, and that will stay with you. And then when you meditate, it will start to come up and out, right? And so we have several courses that help with other knowledge. There's the rounding and the yoga that really helps as well. Some people participate in other things like the New Moon workshop or what's going on. That helps understand a little bit more. To simply just look on what a chart is. There's some places there online you can go. The Cafe Astrology is very, very common. That will do Western. You can look up Vedic Astrology for it. But if you're going to do it, you do need to have your birth time, right? If you don't have your birth time, then I can refer you to someone who will help you rectify your birth times. Now, If you have someone called a Jyotish, which is basically they're trained in this, like there's lots, because they really are very scientific with it. It can take a while to get through. And you're welcome to go online or make a donation nonprofit, and I can just go through some basics of it. So that way, when you get to the Jyotish, you actually have more knowledge. So when they're saying, it doesn't go over your head, right? You can really be there and say, well, hang on. I see that this planet is doing that. Is that why you're saying that? Because to say to me, oh, be careful of knives in car accidents, I'm like, what's that mean? Be careful of knives in car accidents. But if there's an explanation as to why and what's happening, I'm like, oh, I see. They're catching the wave. They're just connecting to what energetic fields are happening. They're saying there's a field where there's a field of possibility, right? And in that field of possibility, you have a choice, right? So when people are predicting the future, the reason why it's so vague is because they're like, there's free will within it, right? So there's a choice where energetically these things are going on through the planets, what's happening. You can make a choice of how you move through that. And so when it comes to Jyotish, it's about a spiritual view upon astrology. It's about how we all have our stuff that we're sorting out here. That's why we're here, right? And so they're just saying, okay, this is an opportunity, and some of them better than others. Some people like different ones. You know, it's all about learning.